Welcome to the Lead Change Empowerment Podcast. This podcast was created to empower you in your personal, business, health, financial, and family areas of life. If you find value in this podcast, please help us by leaving a review in iTunes, Spreaker, or SoundCloud. And now let's bring on your host, empowerment speaker, author, and parenting expert, Steve Robinson.
Welcome to the Lead Change Empowerment Podcast. I am your host, Steve Robinson, and as always, I am super duper grateful. Always grateful. I'm going to tell you to be specific. I'm grateful for the fact that I woke up this morning. I'm grateful that my family awoke this morning. I'm grateful for the sun that came out. I'm grateful for the bed, the roof, the water, the food. I'm grateful for everything, man. I'm just grateful because you cannot have any of these things, and I don't want to overlook or be too, don't want to seem like I'm taking anything for granted, man, because it can all be gone in just a blink of an eye. Everything can be out of the way. So I'm really grateful for the connections and the people that are in my life, you know, whether it be personal, business, friends, just connecting, you know, on different levels, through podcasts, through speaking engagements, through the book, through just meetings, speaking, saying hello. I'm truly grateful for everything that's around me. And I'm really, when talking about people and relations, is just having that, just having good relationships, good vibes, good energy, not dealing with the negative energy. And speaking of that, it's kind of like what we're going to talk about today. For today's topic is like how to avoid or the 10 toxic type personalities that you should avoid at all costs. I mean, if you think about it like this, people affect us more than most any other factor in the world. I mean, people are the most unpredictable. People are mysterious. People are exciting as well. And I mean, at least some of them are. And then there's the type of individuals that, you know, who are just toxic. They're more toxic than they are good. And you know what toxic calls sickness. Toxic is nasty. It's despicable. I should have looked up the definition to make it go. But you know what toxic is. And I mean, if you want to live the best life that you can possibly live, you should surround yourself with the best people. Try to get around the best people, the best attitudes. Not saying everybody is great. I mean, everybody is great, but not saying that everything's perfect. You don't have to be perfect to have a great attitude. And more importantly, you want to avoid these toxic ones who will make your life worse. I mean, mentally strong people understand the importance of influence that a human being, influence of people is very, very, I don't care what age you are at this moment. I don't care, you know, what you've been through, where you were raised at. We've all been influenced by someone else, negative or positive. So that being said, having toxic people around you is just kind of putting you at a disadvantage out the gate. I mean, like I said, being mentally strong, even if you're mentally strong, and I consider myself pretty mentally strong, and I'm not flawless. And I mean, I'm not perfect. And I'm not without flaws of my own and not making mistakes, but you can still have a positive attitude and be mentally strong. But once you get around toxic people, man, that can just take you down. You know how you can start off your day and you're feeling great and things are going well, and then you get that call or you run into that person and it's just downhill. Everything that they're talking about, everything that they're doing, the actions is just all negative. And it just brings you down, you know, and it's just a waste a lot of time and energy dealing with the certain types of people with that negative, toxic attitude, the negative, toxic personalities. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you about the 10 type of personalities to look for, to avoid, you know, and definitely with children. Sometimes like with children often have no choice about who they associate with. But adults, as adults, we do have a choice, okay? So we got to try to, and if you're one of the ones that's putting that on the child, please take that away from the child. Get that toxic stuff away from the child as well. But as an adult, you do have that choice. And here's a few of the people the toxic personalities that we need to stay away from. The first one, a person like a temperamental person. These people have just no control over their emotions. They always up and down, just doing the most at all time. They'll lash out at you or project their feelings onto you just because things are not going well for them. And all the time, that you're thinking, you may be causing it. And the temperamental people, they're tough to dump from your life, and it's hard to get those type of people out of your life if they're in there because of their lack of control over their emotions. And sometimes you feel bad for them. You know how you get around those certain people that and they're just very temperamental, always lashing out, always going off the deep end about different things, just going up and down, and you kind of feel sorry for them. So it's kind of hard for you to get them, kind of out of that circle. And when push comes to shove, the temporal people will use their emotional toilet, and basically they put you in it. You're their emotional toilet. So you know how you go to alleviate the toxic waste in your body to the toilet, and basically you become someone else's toilet. And that's the first type of personality that you need to avoid. The next one is the victim. Say no more. The victim. Victims are, sometimes they can be tough to identify because initially in the beginning, when you first meet the person that always playing a victim, you empathize with their problems. But then as time begin to go on, you kind of realize, like, you know what, this time of need is all the time. Every time that you thinking you're being empathetic towards them, it's like they're always the victim of something. And they actively push away any personal responsibility, so they're not taking any accountability for the things that they're doing and making everything just an encounter to just be able to play the victim role. They don't see tough times as opportunities to learn or change or grow from. Instead, only thing they see is an out for them. They're looking for just to see them as an out. There's an old saying, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And in that, that in itself puts it all together to tell you about the victim. And they choose to suffer every time. A victim is a person that's going to always choose to be the person that's suffering from what's going on. Next, you have the self-absorbed person. The self-absorbed, they always bring you down through the impassionate distance that they maintain from other people. You can easily tell when you're hanging around a self-absorbed person because you start to feel completely alone. And you've been around people, whether it been close relationships, work relationships. It's like, damn, like I'm around this person, but it's kind of like you feel like you're by yourself. And this happens because they're concerned that there's no point in having a real connection between them and anyone else. A person is just all about them. They really have they have no intentions for you. It's just, you're just there. You're just there to be there, and it's really all about them, what they can do to build their own self-esteem while tearing down others. And that is the next person. Now, okay, let's go into this next one. The next one is someone we all know. Some of us, some people have been this person as well. Some of y'all have been this person. Well, I can't say everybody, but, some of you have been the gossip. The one always got something to say. Always talking about something. Always talking about something. Always just telling stuff. And it was a quote I heard of, I think Eleanor Roosevelt, was great minds discuss ideas, average ones discuss events, and small minds discuss people. When you're around somebody that's constantly discussing other people from the time you interact with them to the time you leave, and even when they leave, they texting you about somebody or inboxing you about somebody or screenshotting something somebody said and sending it to you. The gossipers, they just get pleasure from other people's misfortunes. It might be fun to peer into somebody else's personal, professional flaws, but, over time it gets tiring and makes you feel like damn, like, why is this person continuing to be around me? Like, this is really, like, aggravating. I don't want to be around this person anymore. There's too many positives out here in life to too much to learn from interesting people than to waste your time worrying about and talking about and discussing other people's misfortune. The gossip is and when I know you've heard this. The person, if somebody come to talk to you about somebody else, you best believe they'll talk about you to someone else as well. So a lot of times it's like, hey, cut it. Just stop it. And you have to be the person that said, think about it. Like, if you're telling me about this person, what are you going to tell about me if we discuss something that's going on? So you got to be careful of that person. Another personality that's toxic to you, that'll bring you down, envious. The people that are envious. The grass is always greener somewhere else. I mean, they're just envious. Just, most of the time you call them haters now. Like the haters. Even when something great happens to envious people, they don't derive any satisfaction from it. That's because they measure their fortune against someone else's. What everybody else is doing, when they should be basically just satisfied from within. The envious person, let's just face it, there's always someone out there who is doing better if you look hard enough. I mean, you could be jealous, the envious jealous, the hater, whatever you want to call it. They're always comparing themselves to someone else. They're always talking about what someone else is doing instead of, like, that's valuable time that they could put into their own life, into what they want to do. But always, 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 the envious person is telling you what somebody else is or is not doing, or how they should be doing it. When everything, and if you notice that, if you look at it, the people who are very successful, that in different areas of life, they don't spend their time, unless it's a talk show and they're getting paid for it, they're not spending their time talking about what everybody else is doing. They don't waste that time. But the envious person, the toxic person that you're around, always talking about somebody else. Every time you run into them, you will not complete a conversation without them bringing up what someone else is not doing, what someone else's relationships, financials, family, business. I mean, the list goes on. And I don't care if it's the car, if it's the clothes. It's just they always find something else to talk about from somebody else instead of just focusing on their own. I mean, basically kind of like worry about your own business. Stay in your own lane. Another type of personality that you want to avoid, the manipulator. Manipulators, they suck time and energy out of life. I mean, it's like a fake friendship. They could be tricky to deal with because they'll treat you like a friend. They know what you like and what you don't like because they're around you. They know what makes you happy. They know what you think is funny. They know what you think is sad. But the difference is they'll use this same information that they know about you as part of their hidden agendas. I mean, a manipulating person always, always, always wants something from you. And if you look back over the relationships with the manipulators that you've been around, that you've been a part of, that's been in your circle, they just take with no giving. It's always take. And they'll do anything to win you over just so they can work you over. I'm going to say that again. A person is very manipulating, the manipulator, they're going to do whatever they can to win you over, just to work you over. And that's when we move into the next person, is almost like the twisted, just deranged person. This is a certain type of toxic person that's just deriving deep satisfaction from the pain and misery of others. They're either out to hurt you, make you feel bad, get something from you. They have no interest in you. The only good about this type of person that you can spot their intentions quickly. A twisted person is just, which makes it much faster. Now, it makes it faster for you to get them out of your life. You know that toxic person is just twisted. It's just always looking to hurt somebody else, or, and not so much as always physically, mentally, verbally, just out to do spiteful stuff to other people all the dang on time. Just all the time you're trying to get someone else done. And that brings us to the next person, is just the judgmental person. Boy, it's a lot of those toxic people out there. That personality is a lot of times in a lot of places. I mean, judgmental people, they're quick to tell you exactly what is or what isn't right, or what is or what isn't good. They have a way of taking things you're the most passionate about and making you feel terrible about it. They want to judge you on everything that you do. If you decide to go after one of your dreams, to try to start a business, they're going to tell you everything under the sun why you shouldn't be in that business, or why it didn't come. And they'll even bring in religious stuff about it. You be careful of those too. You got the ones that'll try to bring in the religious part about, oh, you shouldn't do it because of this and that. Listen, you got to stay clear of that. The judgmental people that's always trying to make you feel a certain way to get you out of doing something, instead of appreciating and learning from people who are different from them, they're just out to judge. There's a lot of judgmental people out there. It could be through race. It could be through, your chosen ways of life, what you decide to do. There's a lot of judgmental people that you got to keep those out, So you're best off cutting them out and being yourself. You got to cut them out and being yourself. So we ran over some of the toxic people, the manipulator, the twisted person, the person that's envious, the person that's temperamental, this person that's self-absorbed, that's all about themselves, and the gossip. And basically, how you need to protect yourself from them. Toxic people have irrational behavior, and without knowing this, you will respond emotionally every single time, and the next thing you know, you'll get caught up. Every single time you'll get caught up because you'll respond emotionally. The more off the chain someone is, the easier it should be for you to stop dealing with their mess. When you see somebody just doing some things that it just don't seem right to you, like, this just don't seem right. And every time I see this person, or every time I talk to this person, it's like this, it is. That's the automatic sign. That's the writing on the wall. When they say, when people show you who they are, believe it. Hey, believe it. You cannot beat a toxic person at what they do best. So you should distance yourself emotionally. Don't get caught up in the trying. You're not going to beat them at what they're good at, and it's not up for you to. Now, in order to do this, it will require awareness on your part. Can you stop them from pushing those buttons? No, you can't stop people from trying to annoy you and push your buttons. No, you can't. Sometimes you may have to live, work with these people, and feel you cannot control their chaos after you've identified it. But most people feel this. I'm going to tell you this real quick before I go. Most people feel as though because they work or live with someone, they have no way out to control their chaos. This is not further from the truth. Once you've identified a toxic personality, begin to find the behavior more and more predictable and easier to understand. Now, when you do this, it'll equip you to think rationally about when and where you have to put up with them and when and where you don't. You don't have to deal with them all the time. If it's one of those situations where you got to, hey, you need to establish boundaries. And I'll say that again. You need to establish boundaries, but you'll have to do so very consciously and proactively. If you let these things happen naturally, you're bound to find yourself constantly involved in the difficult conversations with people that's with these toxic personalities. If you set boundaries and decide when and where you'll deal with these difficult people and with these toxic personalities, you can control much of the chaos. The only trick is to stick with your guns, keep your boundaries in place when the person tries to cross them, and understand that you set your own joy and your happiness in your life. As again, I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. As always, please go leave us a review on Spreaker, on SoundCloud, on iTunes. Please go to iTunes, leave a 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing. And I look forward to talking to you again. And the blueprint, as always, prayer, patience, progress, in that order. Have a super day.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to leave a review to help our podcast grow and reach others. Continue to be great and remember the blueprint: prayer, patience, progress, in that order.